This is the stronghold of Xayser the Lich. It's the finale of my homebrew D&D campaign, The Black Rain Crisis, and it's a direct continuation of a video I did a few months ago called Arthan's Tomb. This video assumes you're familiar with that video, so I won't reiterate all the story up till now. At this point, the party has tracked Xayser to his fortress in one of the abandoned watchtowers high up in the mountains. There, they, along with Aldaxa the Great White Worm, and Xayser had a showdown. The party had to choose sides, and they sided with the worm. But they still need to go in and halt the casting of the Black Rain and disable Electrum's bangle. The watchtower has a spiral stairway going to its top, but also one dug into the earth by Xayser, a few hundred feet down, where he carved out and built his Redoubt. And the party makes their way down those stairs. But first, let me wax poetic on you for just a minute. Recently I saw a film called The Menu. The antagonist is an ultra-high-end Michelin star chef who's become jaded with his art for a variety of plot reasons that aren't relevant here. But the image that stuck out to me was right at the end of the film, as one of his customers challenges him to make a cheeseburger. Not some hoity-toity fancy deconstructed spin, but a real, common $10 cheeseburger. And he accepts it. And as he's cooking, for the first time in the film, we see genuine warmth wash over his face. It's the first and only time in the film that he comes across as an actual human being. The whole movie, his sous chefs are churning out course after course of these fancy high-concept meals. It's not even him cooking. But when he finally does, he's able to touch again that first feeling of love from decades prior, not with a Michelin star caliber recipe, but by frying up a common burger with American cheese, served on a paper plate. Later that night, as I was lying in bed scrolling through YouTube, I came across this video. And this got me thinking about the smell of hot glue, the feeling of dried Loctite on your fingertips, that lightheadedness from using spray paint inside the garage, and the dried out skin you get after working for cardboard with 6 hours straight. The rush of being shown for the first time that you can construct a miniature world to any quality standard you like using any grade of materials you can get your hands on. And so, for this particular dungeon, I decided to make a set of OG 2.5D Scotty-style dungeon tiles. Is there any better sound than that? I don't think so. And for once I felt like mixing it up. Instead of gray, I found a tan and brown stone speckle spray paint. This stuff has become very expensive, but it's got that old 10 years ago charm of the first tiles I ever made. Love it. And for the doors, I also elected to make some old school clip-ons like I used to do. It was super gratifying to make these. Didn't worry about proportions, didn't think about them too much. I think it took 45 minutes to make all 5 or 6 of them. So all that plus a few other knickknacks that really aren't worth going into, and I was ready to run the finale. Game night arrived, and into the stronghold we go. And remember, if you're a 3D printer, you must check out Heroes Horde and their outstanding selection of models for your tabletop gaming, including the original True Tiles lines. The descending stairway finally ends in Room 1, the entrance hallway. The only thing to mention here is the door in the north wall, which is a solid adamantine block. It has no levers, handles, or keyholes, but there are 3 small holes in the center of it, around each of which are some mystical-looking glyphs and symbols carved into the adamantine. The hallway leads directly into Room 2, Mineral Research. The floor and ceiling of this room are covered in stalagmites and stalactites, respectively. They're of many different colors and sizes, and even their material seems to vary. One is gray stone, another is crystalline sienna, and so on. In the middle of the room is a workbench upon which there's a hammer, chisel, some tools, and a polished wooden case. The case has an etching carved into the lip of the lid which reads, Erdno's Mineral Starters. Inside is an array of 24 small pots full of sand, varying in color and coarseness. Inscribed on the inside of the lid are the instructions. Mix proportions as desired and add water, then wait. And of course, if there's a room with stalactites that seem out of place, naturally there is a roper, which attacks as soon as the best opportunity presents itself. Opening the door to Room 3, Spell Component Storage. This appears to be a spell component storage room. At the far end, though, is a crystal ball set into a sconce. There's a few potions in here to be found, but the interesting thing is the crystal ball. When the party looks into it, they see themselves, or rather the back of themselves. It took them a moment in my actual game, but they realized that the NPC they had been traveling with is wearing a necklace with a charm that appears to be tied to this crystal, like a camera. She is outed as a traitor here, and they make the realization that the bad guy has been watching them for the entire campaign. Room 4, Webbed Hallway. This is a trap. The web is choked full of cobwebs. At the far end, a giant spider can be seen, currently immobile. An animal handling check from someone who can see that far reveals that it is fake. It's a papier-mâché model of a giant spider. In fact, however, it is laced with explosives and acts as a fireball spell, cast at a higher level. I took some creative liberty with the rules here and said that if it explodes, all of the energy is channeled down that narrow hallway easily into and including room 2. There's also a pressure plate somewhere along the hallway, which triggers the explosive. Going into room 5, Magnetic Trap. This is a small room and appears to be completely empty, except for a door on the opposing wall. Opening that door will reveal more wall behind it. It's a false door, except that there's a small alcove carved out of the wall, and sitting in it is a small silver rod etched with strange runes that, with a good check, would be revealed as matching those on the adamantine door from room 1. However, about halfway through opening this door, there is a click and a trap is sprung. A humming sound begins, and the ceiling becomes magnetic. Anyone wearing metal armor is instantly sucked to the ceiling and stuck there. Seconds later, the north and south walls begin moving in to crush them. They have 2 to 3 rounds to get out somehow. Misty Step, Spider Climb, or other party members not in metal coming in to pull them down with good strength checks. Room 6, the library. The room is chocked full of bookshelves, and amongst all of it there's a couple spell scrolls and a deck of many things for the party to find. However, there is also a podium with a book open on it. It's not a pleasant-looking book. A history or religion check reveals that it is Volume 4 of the Demonicon of Igwilv. Opening it causes a sulfurous tornado to appear in the middle of the room as a Glebrezu manifests. Somehow Xayser bound it by contract to guard one of the keys to the adamantine door, another of those silver rods. And so there's a brief role-playing bit, but ultimately the Glebrezu is allowed to trade the rod for some amount of life force. And as the purpose was to drain the party's resources, the sacrifice varied depending on who stepped up. If it's a magic user, their ability to cast spells is reduced. If it's a fighter, they lose some vigor and their extra attack is disabled for a week, something like that. Onward into Room 7, Cadaver Research. This room's perimeter is laden with corpses of various species in varying states of decay. In the center of the room is a large flesh golem in progress. It is indeed in progress. There's no magic to it yet, it can't attack, it doesn't come to life. Cutting it open will reveal that stored in the chest cavity is the 3rd of those silver rods. However, reaching into the ichor to retrieve it will loose some molds and/or slimes from the body and affect the party accordingly. After inserting all 3 rods into the adamantine block, it retracts into the ceiling to provide access to Room 8, Electrum's Bangle. Hovering and rotating on a skull-adorned dais is none other than Electrum's Bangle, still in progress toward casting the Black Rain. Being an artifact, it is immune to almost everything. A wall of force is cast around the dais, and guarding the room are 2 hellish automatons, which animate and attack the intruders as soon as they step in. It fires a ray out of its mouth at a PC, and if it hits, 1 magic item on their person is selected at random. There is then a flat DC 10 check to see if it resists or if it permanently loses its magical properties. This can be devastating, but enterprising party members will use their positioning smartly such that they fire the ray at the wall of force, or at the other guardian, or even the bangle itself once freed. From there, it's a matter of disabling the bangle. I had one party member simply cast Dispel Magic. It was a DC 21 because it's an 11th level spell, and he succeeded. The black lightning crackling across the device's surface stopped, and they made their way back to the surface to deliver it to Aldaxa, the White Worm. So yeah, I know it's kind of strange to take such a wholesome epiphany from a bizarre horror film like The Menu, but Whatever, that's what happened. So I encourage you, if you are feeling at the one end burned out or at the other end overwhelmed, take a step back and build something from your past, something that you know is way below your current capability level. It's not a waste of time, it's a reignition. There's tens of thousands of others like me. Find us on Facebook, the Tabletop Crafters Guild, and there's lots of resource links in the video description below. I'm Wylock. Thanks for watching, make things, and play games.